I was finishing up a late evening at work when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my wife, Sarah. "Don't stress, it's just an innocent girls' trip." I stared at the message, feeling an uneasy twist in my stomach. Something in the tone didn't feel right, and my instincts, which I had tried to ignore for weeks, screamed at me. I typed back quickly, "Hope you and Kevin have a great time." My heart raced the moment I hit send, and immediately, I regretted it. Had I overstepped? Was I imagining things? But deep down, I knew I wasn't. The next day, Sarah called, her voice cheerful and light. "Hey. Aren't you glad I'm having fun? You should come out with your friends sometime too." I forced a laugh, keeping my voice calm, but I could feel the tension growing inside me. Something was off, and I needed to know the truth. I didn't want to accuse her blindly, but I also couldn't ignore the feeling that she wasn't being entirely honest. By the weekend, she was gone off on her trip. I stayed home, pretending to focus on my work, but my mind kept drifting. The more I thought, the more details emerged in my memory, small things she had said, little inconsistencies, texts she had received and deleted too quickly. I realized I had to confront this, but I wanted proof, something concrete, not just a hunch. I decided to check her schedule, her messages, and the social media she usually ignored on trips. 2 days into the trip, I saw a post on her account. It was a picture of her smiling on a beach, captioned innocently, but the comments below hinted at names and interactions I didn't recognize. My stomach sank. I remembered the name Kevin from her earlier messages, the same Kevin she had claimed was just a friend. My mind raced, but I stayed composed. I didn't want to overreact and make a scene before knowing the full story. Later that evening, she called again. "You won't believe the fun we had today. The group went kayaking, and Kevin was such a good sport." Her voice was carefree, full of laughter. I realized then that I couldn't ignore my suspicions any longer. I took a deep breath and said, calmly, "Sarah, I need to be honest. I don't know what's happening on this trip, but I need you to understand that trust is everything. If there's something you're hiding, I'd rather you tell me now." There was silence on the line. For a moment, I feared the worst. Then, slowly, she said, I didn't expect you to find out like this." Her voice trembled slightly, and I could hear a weight in her words I had never heard before. She admitted that she had grown closer to Kevin in ways that shouldn't have happened and that she regretted keeping it from me. I stayed quiet, letting her speak. My heart ached, but I also knew that this was the moment where everything changed, either for the worst or the beginning of rebuilding. When she returned, I confronted her in person. I was calm, collected, but firm. I told her how much the secrecy had hurt, how it made me question everything in our relationship. She listened, tears in her eyes, acknowledging her mistakes. It wasn't easy, nothing about this was easy, but her honesty finally gave me the clarity I needed. I realized that betrayal doesn't just happen in grand gestures, it begins with small lies and hidden truths. Over the following weeks, we attended counseling and spoke openly about boundaries, trust, and forgiveness. It wasn't instantaneous, and it wasn't painless. Every conversation was a reminder of what had almost been lost. But slowly, I began to see the changes. She was more transparent, more thoughtful, and more committed to rebuilding the foundation we had taken for granted. I, too, had to adjust, to accept vulnerability, to communicate better, and to recognize that forgiveness is a choice, not a feeling. Months later, when we celebrated our next anniversary, I realized that the trip, which had initially caused so much pain and doubt, became a turning point. It forced both of us to confront uncomfortable truths and rebuild our relationship with honesty as the core. Trust, once broken, can be restored, but only through effort, communication, and genuine accountability. I looked at her that night, and though the memory of those anxious messages lingered, I also saw the strength of our bond, tempered by the trials we had faced. That weekend, what had started as suspicion and betrayal had ultimately become a lesson in resilience, accountability, and love. I knew that challenges like this could either destroy a relationship or make it stronger. For us, it became a foundation, one built not on perfection, but on the courage to face truth, even when it hurts.